You ready?
Ready to go. Let me lock it. Welcome to the Historic Ramsey House.
Yes.
And we're here in East Knoxville area. This was really easy to find, wasn't it?
It was
It's
easy
right
to
off Interstate 40. We're going to check it out and get a tour of this place, find out what it's all about. So that should be fun, should be a great day.
Well, this is our visitor center, which actually used to be a cow barn.
Really?
A cow. Yeah, a dairy barn. So Ramsey House has had a lot of different lives, and so before the Association for the Preservation of Tennessee Antiquities, which is a long name, APTA for short, before they purchased it, it was a gentleman's farm.
This is Melissa
Melissa Stowers.
and Misty. Let's say hey to them.
Well, welcome to Ramsey House. If you can imagine, the part we're getting ready to walk down is a peninsula. When Colonel Ramsey arrived here at 19 years old, he was a doer. He arrived at 19 years old. This was a peninsula. So there was acres and acres of lakes surrounding us. But he purchased this property, and when he moved his family here later, 5 to 10 years later, they drained the pond because of fear of malaria, and he was interested in farming. So he turned it into a plantation at the time, a farm, and worked it till his death in 1820.
Oh, wow.
I think we'll stop here first at the blacksmith shop. We're going to pick up your tour guide. He's much better than I. Hey, Ethan.
Hello.
Hello, Ethan.
This is Mike and Karen. Hey,
Hello.
It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
we were hoping you could take time to give them a tour.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be great. So we heard that this cabin was built by your own hands, your blacksmith shop.
Yes, sir.
Awesome, man.
Eagle Scout project.
Yeah.
It's a 12 by 15 log cabin built from the ground up using traditional methods.
Yes.
Alrighty, well, thanks for joining us here today. We'll take you back in a bit of history and tell you a bit about the Ramseys and their impact not only on Knoxville but on Tennessee history in general. So as we make our way here towards the house, Colonel Francis Ramsey arrived here in what we now know as East Tennessee, at the time was actually Western North Carolina, 1783. He's only 19 years old. Says that all he had with him was a surveyor's chain, surveyor's compass, and his horse.
Wow.
He had grown up in and around what we now know as Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. He had been very well educated. His father had made sure of that. His father had been well educated. He is very adept at mathematics. And at the time, if you were really good at mathematics, one of the main jobs you could get was being a surveyor. We believe that around when he was about 16 years old, he actually helped his cousin, James Geddes, lay out the town of Gettysburg. That would have been one of his courses. But he had heard that you could seek fame and fortune by headed down south, and North Carolina at the time was hiring a bunch of surveyors. You got to think all those settlers are coming over the mountains. They wanted to know exactly what was out here. He came to live with an uncle that lived on Big Limestone Creek. Yeah, this uncle, I told him, you can come on down, stay with me as long as you need to. You kind of get your feet on the ground down here.
Okay, y'all give Ethan a thumbs up down there for walking backwards all the way down the path.
He got work very fast with the surveying crew, one of those men being James White of James White Fort in downtown Knoxville. They came down to this area known as the Forks of the River, and while down here, Francis found 500 acres that he absolutely fell in love with. It's 500 acres we stand on today. Now, it looked a bit different back then than it does today. One of those being is that we would have been surrounded on 3 sides here by water. We're actually standing on an ancient peninsula. The creek that you came over today to get into Ramsey House, well, there was a large beaver dam set on it. That beaver dam had been there for who knows how long. It was considered ancient by the Cherokee. But it created about a 200-acre pond. They called that pond Swan Pond, because a bunch of swans from up north would migrate and live down on the pond during the wintertime. Francis knew that underneath that water it was very fertile dirt, and he wanted that dirt for farming. So upon returning back up to Big Limestone Creek, he would apply for a land grant from the state of North Carolina. Now, North Carolina would grant him that land grant, but it'd take him 3 years to do it. It'd take Francis even longer to return. During that time he was away, he had married his wife Peggy in 1789. He'd also be a clerk for the state of North Carolina, the state of Franklin, which was the first attempt to create a state in Tennessee's boundaries. He'd also be a judge. Of course, he'd continue with the surveying. He would be a mayor, and he would be a sheriff all during this time. But in 1792, he was ordered by acting territorial governor William Blount to return back to this area to be a clerk for a lot of the surrounding counties here. Him and his wife would build a small cabin set just a little bit forward of where this cabin sits over here today. One of the first things that Francis would have done would be to knock down that beaver dam, to get to that dirt underneath that water, and also to try to get rid of the mosquitoes that were here. Mosquitoes carry a lot of diseases. He didn't want that around his family. But Francis had already been amassing quite a wealth while he was away, and he wanted something a bit nicer than this little 20 by 20 log cabin to live in. So he contacted a man named Thomas Hope. Thomas Hope was a British architect. He had studied in London, but he came across to the New World, specifically to Charleston, South Carolina, where he would be building homes for people there. Francis would contact him, and Thomas Hope would come up here in about 1795. They began drawing plans up, begin ordering parts for the new house. Construction would begin in about 1796, take about a year. Be finished in 1797.
We saw on the sign that it said 1797.
In November of 1797, Francis and his family would move into the house. As we look at the house, you see that it is of pink Tennessee marble and blue limestone construction. You can see that that is mainly on the blue limestone is on the corners and above the windows and doors. The house is actually built in what is known as a Georgian architectural style, which basically means that the house is symmetrical in all ways to each other. The upstairs mirrors the downstairs, the right side mirrors the left side.
Was it all built at the same time, or is one additional? Or?
Good question. So you might be able to tell that this part of the house here doesn't have that same kind of features that the rest of it does. Doesn't have that blue limestone corners or above the doors. This is the attached kitchen. It comes a little bit later, about 1806. And
Looks like we're going in the kitchen first here. Oh, it still smells like gravy. Just kidding.
like I just said, the attached kitchen is built about 1806, 1807. And by doing that, Francis and his family has the designation of having the first attached kitchen in the state of Tennessee.
Oh, wow. That is a huge fireplace.
And you see like the large piece of tulip poplar here. This is about a 2 foot by 1.5 foot, tapering down to a
Did
point
notice
piece
that,
of tulip
yeah.
poplar. Would have been all cut and milled here on property, and then placed here as the top part of the hearth. Talk about the duality of this house, of not only being a very regal house, but also a frontier home. We see items like the serving spoon mold. They would have had a bunch of these, not only for the large serving spoons, but for all the forks, knives, plates that they would have made out of pewter. You see, you pour the hot pewter down into here, give it a couple minutes to cool, you can open it up, and you have a spoon. They could have made all that themselves. But then you have on the other side of that, you have items that can't be made here on the frontier. Like this little piece here. This would have been made by a tinsmith, probably in Charleston or New York or Boston, and then Francis would have had it shipped in. And all it is just a nice little egg boiler.
Oh, that's cute.
Hmm.
You have a dozen eggs, and you pour your boiling hot water into it, give it a few minutes, and then you have perfectly cooked eggs. Well, then we have other items like this sugar cone here. Now this is a white sugar cone. Francis actually probably would have had a brown sugar cone. See, white sugar is extremely hard to come across in that time period. It's very hard to refine, which makes it extremely expensive. The only people that probably would have had that is extremely wealthy and nobility. But when sugar cones come, they're extremely hard. So you have to use a pair of pinchers here to take a pinch of sugar off with. That's actually where you get the term a pinch of sugar. It's not talking about a pinch that you take with your fingers, with the clippers.
With the pincher and clippers, yeah.
This would have been seen as a sign of wealth, not only because it's refined sugar, but also you got to think about all his neighbors as getting their sugar from honey or from a sweet sorghum syrup or like maple syrup. So for him to have any form of refined sugar is seen as very high-end, very wealthy.
So what do you think about this kitchen? Could you make it happen here?
I guess if I had to.
Early in the morning, Francis's slaves, they lived directly above us. They'd wake up, they'd come down, they'd get the cooking fires going, they began cooking breakfast. A breakfast for the Ramseys would have consisted of a porridge, eggs, milk, potatoes, bread, and then some type of meat.
Wow, what room we got here?
This is Francis's great hall. This is where he would have had his breakfast, his dinner, his supper at. It's where everyone in the family, except for the children, and of course the slaves, would have ate. On top of just having the regular breakfasts and dinners, Francis would also hold great galas in here. The table would be expanded, a lot of guests would come over, they'd have dinner in here, and then the furniture would actually be removed and they would hold dancing in this room.
This was the dance hall too.
Yes, sir.
Get these original floors.
But on top of also holding the great galas here, one of the other things that Francis would do is he helped start the Lebanon and the Forks Presbyterian Church. It lied not far from here. He gave the first 9 acres for that. While that church was being built, they would hold some of the first church services in this room. Tables would be removed, chairs lined up, and they'd have preaching in here. Here in the windows, the shutters are built directly into the walls. See the deep sets in.
Isn't that neat?
You can open them up from the inside. You don't have to go outside to close the shutters. Now that mainly would have been for the possibility of the house falling under attack. See, Francis was quite worried about Cherokee raids. He'd seen the aftermath of several. He knew what could happen to his family. He wanted to have protection from that. That was part of this.
Neat.
We can go to church in this room, he said.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And
You gonna preach?
Wait a minute. I mean, back that many years ago, you could dance
In here, eat.
and go to church all in the same room. Probably not at the same time, right? We're headed toward the parlor, I think.
This is Francis's parlor. This is where him and his guests would come after they finished eating. They could sit in here and talk about the events of the day, what was happening. But now we have a lot of artifacts talking about the people and their history here in this room. One of those being like this square piano here. That's owned by his son, Dr. J.G.M. Ramsey. Dr. J.G.M. would purchase this piano probably sometime in the 18 teens, somewhere in there. Then we have pictures here on the wall. This is of Ramsey's third wife. Very interesting woman. She owned and operated a hotel in Knoxville when he met her. Then we have 3 silhouettes here. One of Francis's father, mother, and one of his sisters. We're not quite sure which sister it is. We just know that it is one of them.
Here we go.
This is the children's bedroom. At one time, there was up to 8 children living in this room on these
8.
large rope beds. Thing with a rope bed is that every so often you have to tighten it, or else it gets a little loose. So you have to use a bed roper here. Tighten the ropes up, and you take a small wooden hammer like this, and you knock these pegs into the end. Keeps the bed nice and tight. So the children would have spent most of their lives up here, of course, the sleeping. They would have ate up here. Right? They would have done a lot of their studying up here. They would have played a lot of games up here. You see, like the games over there on the table. There, the ball and cup and checkers, stuff like that. His only daughter, Eliza, would have done a lot of her first needleworks in here, like that piece over there, which is actually the oldest piece of needlework in the state of Tennessee.
Karen likes these quilts. It's pretty.
This room is interesting for many reasons. One being, like I said earlier, this home is built in a Georgian home design. It's supposed to mirror the downstairs. Well, the downstairs doesn't have a wall like this. So there's not supposed to be a wall here, but the reason we believe this wall is put in place because Thomas Hope knew he'd be living in this room. Now this room has some distinct advantages and some disadvantages depending on what time of year it is. The advantage being that you have this large door here. You have a window right across the hallway. You get a good cross breeze going through here. Disadvantage is that there is no fireplace in here. To be able to heat this room, they would have used what is known as a box heater. It's a little metal box, typically surrounded then by a wooden box. That would be, you would shovel hot coals into it before you go to sleep. You place that in here. Keeps the room warm during the cold nights. Now the door here, one of the problems with it is that there's never a porch on the front of the house. The whole reason that this door is here is to haul up furniture. You need to get a bed upstairs, you don't take it up the stairwell, you haul it up the front of the house. But nowadays we use this room to show off a lot of the spinning instruments and different fiber craft and some of that land that Ramsey had drained. It would have been grown, raked through the flax hackle, becomes that more thread, fibrous material there in the flax wheel. This is Ramsey's main bed chambers, where he would have lived the rest of his life after 1797. Him and his wife would have slept in a large post bed like this, and this sheet here would have been the only privacy they would have had when guests are over, because guests don't get a guest bedroom, they get a guest bed. See that over there on the other side of the room. We see many different things, one of those being like the chest of drawers desk combination that Ramsey owned. He's not putting his clothing in trunks like his children are. He has all his nicely tucked away in the chest of drawers. Also have the small baby cradle here. Very small children would have been kept in here next to their mother until they were old enough to be able to go and sleep the night in the children's bedroom. We also see another spinning wheel here and some of the knitting and crocheting instruments that they would have done in this room. But then also the wash basin and mirror. Wash basin is the only bathing they would have done regularly. If you actually needed to take a bath, that had to be done down in the kitchen. We see two of Eliza's original wooden dolls.
Wow.
Now, it's definitely seen as a height of luxury at the time. Well, almost height. The only thing nicer than wooden dolls is porcelain. But when all your neighbors and probably some of her other friends, their dolls are being made out of rags or out of corn husks, to have wooden dolls is definitely seen as your father has money.
Ramsey Children's original shoes. Look at that.
Now, Francis would die here in this room in November of 1820. He's 56 years old. He would die of malaria. Now, after he passed, his land would start changing hands. First, it would go to his three remaining children. Liza would get a small portion. JGM would get a larger portion of all the land. But WBA would get the house and what was remaining of the land. Now, after that, WBA would continue living in the house for quite a while till actually his wife passed away and he found it unbearable to live in the house anymore. He would sell the house and his land to his brother, JGM. JGM would keep care of the house, and actually his son, Alexander, would move in and live in here for quite a while till the end of the Civil War, when they'd lose their family fortune. They'd be forced to sell the house and all the land. Then it really starts changing hands. For a time, it's actually a quarry worker's bunkhouse. There's a lot of quarries in this area here. One of their owners purchased this house, and his workers would live in here. But he would sell it off, and then it would become tenant farming. So tenant farmers would live in the house, keep care of the land around it. And that's what it was up until its abandonment in 1925. But then, in 1952, the home was purchased by the APTA, which is a statewide organization that keeps care of a lot of historic homes. A board consisting of a lot of local people would be formed here at Ramsey House, and they'd restore the house, begin giving tours out of it. We've been giving tours here ever since.
Awesome. So they had 9 children. Only 3 made it to adulthood. It's the same.
The stairwell leading up to the attic, quite
Goodness.
steep and no railings.
That is straight up.
As a guest to Ramsey's, you would have exited down the stairs here, said your goodbyes to the Ramseys here, exited out the front door to your carriage awaiting you on Thornborough Pike, which can take you either to Dandridge, Tennessee, and then on in to North Carolina, or back to Knoxville. But we will exit out the back doors.
Karen, you're at the front door. You leaving?
I'm going out the back.
You going to Dandridge or Knoxville?
I'm just going this way right now.
Okay.
Thank you all for taking a tour here at Ramsey House today.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Yeah, how about a big thumbs up down there for Ethan? That was a great inside tour.
Yes, it was.
What a fun place to visit, especially if you love history and you're here in East Tennessee. You definitely want to come and hang out, get a tour, and check it out. I think it was like $10 each.
$10 a person, or $8 for veterans and seniors.
Yeah. Okay. The blacksmith shop. Karen, you want to make something?
No, I want you to.
We do not wear gloves, reason being that actually you will burn yourself a lot worse with a glove than you will. If we look here, like on the anvil, you see all these flakes. So these are all the impurities that are coming out of the steel and out of the metal. When you wear gloves, a lot of the times what happens, those impurities will fall down in there, and you have those sitting in the palm of your hand or something. Local leather worker.
Okay.
Well, that's not right.
This is a different apron than when you're grilling or cooking inside the van.
I don't know how to get
Right
that
here.
in.
Right here goes over your head.
Oh, right here.
Yeah.
this will be your hammer. I'll make one. I'll show you. I'll have you make a nail.
A nail.
Here you kind of go like this, half on, half off. Take right inside of the hammer. Hit it once. Turn it 90 degrees. Use a nail header here. As long as the nail fits into the nail header, you're good to go. To the hot cut. Give yourself just a little bit of mass to it. Go. Cool it off. You have a nail.
Okay, can you do that?
No. I'm not sure why I put this apron on.
As long as you hold it here on the end, you'll be fine.
Okay.
Like I said, put that kind of half on, half off, so bring it back a little bit. No, back towards you. Alright, right there. Now hit. There you go. Just keep going like that. Just back and forth. Alright, so now we'll reheat it.
Good job, honey.
Over. Back. Alright, now. Fit the nail better. Yep, so we're gonna heat up again, then we'll cut it off there.
Did you see how I did that?
Yes.
Hammers on you here.
Good.
Alright. Great thing about a hot cut is that you only need to hit just a couple times, especially with this small piece of metal, and you have cut through. Back to the other hammer.
Now we're gonna put the head on it.
Gonna put the head on it.
Crook it down. Just the heads a little bit.
Here, hold it up there.
No worse than anything I've ever made.
Now see that? It's gonna focus on my face.
Okay, we got it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
First for me. Awesome. Souvenir?
Yes, sir.
Oh, great.
Keep these two as well.
Oh, well, thank you. So this is just
hook and nail combination. You can hang it somewhere.
That is neat, yeah.
Okay, so we really enjoyed it. Thank you all so much. We had a great time, great tour.
Yes, we did. We appreciate all of you all. We appreciate you inviting us, Misty, and all that we got to do. So you all tell us a little bit more about how our folks can come and visit and what's going on and what's coming up.
Okay, well, we're open Thursday through Saturday, 10 to 4. We have guided tours for $10 a person, $8 for seniors and veterans. And the last tour leaves at 3. We got some events coming up, Melissa.
Yes, we host vintage baseball, 1860s rules, no gloves. August the 16th is the last Saturday of the season for vintage baseball. And we'll have Living Historian Day. We will have lots of blacksmiths on the grounds, and the vintage baseball is free. You bring a chair, hang out. We have great concessions and a good time. And one of the other special things that we will do in the fall, besides candlelight tours during the holidays, is we partner with Veterans Heritage Site Foundation to honor Gold Star families and mothers. And we have a special ceremony that day, the last Sunday in September is Gold Star Family Day, and we invite anyone that is a Gold Star family member or mother to come out.
That's really nice. Well, thank you all for inviting us. Again, what was the website?
It is ramseyhouse.org, and thanks y'all for coming. We were excited to have you, so
So
hope you'll come back.
pleasure.
We have a new exhibit opening this fall. The room above the kitchen we're going to be opening, so we'd love to have you come back and take a look at that.
So they gave us a little recipe.
Recipes from Ramsey House.
Yeah, isn't that neat?
Yeah.
Say hi to everybody. Hey.
Cookies, jam cake, custard, apple pie.
Okay, on to the next stop.
Yes.
That was so much fun.
Yeah, such a neat experience here. Y'all
Yeah.
should come.
Okay.
Winston, don't eat grass.
He's eating grass.
Winston, don't eat grass.
He's been out here running in the field. So So where are we at?
So we are at the true fork of the river where the French Broad meets the Holston, and we're at the Lebanon and the Fork church site and cemetery. And it's the home of the oldest known marked grave in Knox County. It is of Elizabeth Carrick, who was the wife of Samuel Carrick, the minister here. And while Samuel and all the other men, such as Francis Ramsey, James White, John Sferever, they had left the area to deal with some unrest amongst the Creeks and Cherokee. They never ended up in a skirmish. The burning of Cabot Station actually happened. But while the men were gone, Elizabeth was sick and passed away. So the women who were taking care of her put her in a canoe and brought her body down the Holston River and buried her behind the church door. So this is the site of Elizabeth's grave.
Oh, okay.
And it says on here, it's Elizabeth Carrick, consort of Reverend Samuel Carrick. And she died in September of 1793. Now, the reason she was a consort is because her husband outlived her.
Okay.
If her husband had died first, her grave would say relic.
Oh, I see.
So you were a relic if you outlived your husband.
Okay.
Buried here.
Francis Ramsey, his family?
Francis Ramsey and his family is buried here. His father, Reynolds, who served with Washington at Trenton and Valley Forge, is buried here. John Alexander, his uncle who served on the father-in-law who served on the Continental Line, is buried here.
Wow.
Jeremiah Jack, a Revolutionary War patriot.
What's the bell?
So the bell is the bell from the last church.
The one that burned and the columns.
They
are
saved
from
the bell
last
and they
church.
saved the columns.
Oh,
So this is
isn't that neat?
yeah.
Yeah, well, me and Winston's already seen it. So we've already been looking at
The
it.
columns.
Riverside, that's on the other side of the river.
Melissa, thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Wow. That was fun, huh?
Yes.
Beautiful day here in East Tennessee.
A lot of interesting history.
I'm not sure we got it on film. She was saying what a beautiful view of downtown Knoxville.
When there's not any leaves on the trees.
Yeah.
A direct view out there.
Anyway, thanks so much for watching.
Yes.
Hope you enjoy some history every now and then from us. And
Yes.
until next time, we are Fridays.
Forever. Bye, everyone.
Bye. This is an active railroad. Be awesome to see one come down through here, wouldn't it?